What's up, YouTube? Mono meals. I know a lot of people, ask me about mono meals or talk about mono meals. Uh, it is the best way to go because you think about it, people have attached thoughts and emotions to the food that they eat already. And if they're eating a bunch of different foods that they have attached different emotions and thoughts to, and you got to realize that food itself communicates with your biology. So you have this traffic. It's like you already are in a state where you're emotionally needy or thought filled, and you've already created this cycle where you have this trigger of emptiness where you have a need for this texture or taste of food because of an emotional situation that is created by a thought from a bodily sensation. So you have a bodily sensation that you've attached a thought to, and we call that emotion. And when we go through that trigger, when we have a thought that triggers that emotion, that sensation, or vice versa, then we reach for foods. Like I said before, crunchy, salty would be frustrated. Creamy and sweet would be lacking of love, or that you just have an emptiness there. So you feel the emotional need with physical food. So you're eating all these things for these different emotional reasons that have these thoughts attached to them, because you're attaching these things to them. And then the food itself, like I said, communicates, resonates its own frequency and its messages inside of you. That's why they say people should eat food that is grown in 100-mile radius of them, because it'll tell that food will give you information about the area. It'll tell you, it'll just have you more in tune with the area that you're in. So when you eat foods from all over the world, all times of the year, all times of the day, in different varying combinations that don't really marry well inside of you, compounded with the thoughts and emotions that you have attached to these things, then you realize it's like a noisy cafeteria inside of your body. You have basically all these presence, all these forces inside of you, basically, giving their speech. A bunch of, like a room full of people all talking at once, not in unison. It's like a noisy cafeteria of kids or something inside of you. So that just creates the cycle again where you have these random thoughts, or so-called random thoughts, that might trigger random emotions throughout your day, and you're just an emotional roller coaster because of all these different things you're eating at once and bringing together at once inside of you. And then your body is just fighting to balance all these things, trying to balance the pH, all these elements inside of you at once. It just creates this flux inside the body, and basically it just creates procrastination, because one distraction leads to the next. So one thought is one distraction, or because it's considered random, so you're going from one thought to the next, and all you can do, you're powerless, because all you can do is resist the thoughts, which doesn't remove the force itself. It's just resisting the thought, which can actually give the thought more energy when you resist it, instead of just letting it flow through you. But when you're too dense, it just gets snagged in your being. So, we realize what all we've done as far as being imploding stars, being black holes. Like I said, where we're just pulling all these things from all over the earth, pulling them, willing them to our existence, to our plate, and putting them inside of us, and going through this whole process over and over again. And we take all the energies that come with it. The truck ride over from wherever the food came from, everything. You take all the energies that the food went through. Everything it went through is communicating inside of you. So you have, like I said, a bunch of people and a bunch of forces inside of you speaking, communicating with the body at once. And it's all vibration, light, vibration, sound, all whatever, same thing. It's all inside of you. So it's just so much light inside of you that it's blocking any dream state that you could be in, let alone this state, because you're living, it will keep you in an anxious state. It'll keep you in because again, the kidneys would be anxiety, liver would be anger or happiness, lungs would be depression. So certain foods could create lymph buildup in the lungs, or create problems with the kidneys or liver. So this elicits that response of anger or depression or anxiety, and then again the cycle would just repeat instead of living in the now. When you realize this is no different from a dream, and you just balance the elements within you, like what I'm doing right now on my second day of dry fasting. It's just, you get to this point where you realize you don't need anything. You already have everything you need. And you get to that point. Once you get to that point, then you can realize that breathing itself is a meal, or water itself is a meal. These things that just take that into account when you think about mono meals. Just eat one thing, consume, take in one thing, and you have an exchange with it instead of consuming and consuming and consuming. You have an exchange. You communicate with the food you put in you. You inhale, you exhale. You drink the water in, you pass through. It passes through. An exchange has an exchange with you. Everything has an exchange. So when we have all these different exchanges going on inside us ignorantly, this crowd of voices, basically, we just have an open vessel that is just prone to procrastination.